Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 240 of the Classic Elite Podcast. My name is Scott, and the shoulder shimmy over there is Dustin. What's going on, man?
Hajime Mashite, Dustin Des.
Wow, impressive. Me amo Scott.
Soy Dustin.
Hey, there you go. Oh, so Soy really does everything. It's tofu, It's me. It's everything.
Yeah.
I'm glad this time around your Japanese is progressing.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 31 days.
So, do you think that you'll eventually get to the point where, I don't know, you'll start using, like, was it lynda.com or Lisa? One of those is a mattress and one of those is like a pay for how to do service, like a tutorial service.
Lynda.com.
Lynda.com? All right. Yeah, both of those companies advertise on podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm familiar with each name. I had to figure it out eventually. Well, that's cool, man. But do you think that you will start buying advanced lessons, even more and above?
I don't know, maybe.
Cool. Do you think Kim will surprise you someday with a trip to Japan?
Probably not.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed so you can go retro game hunting out that way someday.
It's probably crazy expensive like it is everywhere else now.
You know, I bet it's one of those times, the right time of year, or, you know, those deal sites like slick deals for flights. Mm-hmm. You never know. Maybe you could get a couple for like 300 round trip. And you're in a big city, so you
That's
have
true.
Like an airport. For me to get out of the country outside of a vehicle is really like an enormous pain in the ass. I'm really landlocked. So, well, yeah, man. Outside of learning more Japanese, how's the week been? Or last 2 weeks?
It's been all right.
How was your buddy's party last week? Wasn't it like a surprise birthday party or something? Like an anniversary?
What were we doing? It was just a birthday party. Yeah,
Okay.
we went fine. Yeah. It
Cool.
was a good time sitting around, chit-chatting,
Sweet.
eating food.
Definitely more important than a podcast. So, well, dude, last week, the night we recorded our last episode, my hometown got an enormous flood. I had probably 3 feet of water in my crawl space.
Holy cow.
Our entire office had several inches of water up in the office. So I followed Wet Electronics 101.
Mm-hmm.
Both of our computers that were on the ground got several inches of water in them.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily they were on surge protectors. So I brought them home. I took every part apart, laid it out with a fan and I put a space heater behind the fans.
Ooh, good idea.
Dried the stuff out. Both computers fired right up. Now, we do have offsite backup, but to get that information back takes forever to download.
Yeah.
And when I opened my crawl space and I saw to open the hatch on my crawl space and to just, I know how the Ghostbusters felt in Ghostbusters 2 when they looked in the sewer and they're like, oh my God. My first thought was, I'm screwed. I don't have flood insurance because I'm not anywhere close to the floodplain.
Yeah.
I'm boned. I thought, oh my God, like, do I have enough equity in my home to get a second mortgage for repairs? Like, what is going on? Well, it turns out the people that designed my house were quite smart, and it turns out my sub pump failed.
Oh,
So once I
okay.
put, you know those vents that allow you to let air under your house so you don't get like mold and mildew if you don't have a basement?
Mm-hmm.
I popped one of those out and just threw a new sub pump in there with a hose coming out of it. And like several hours later, it was down to a couple inches. Was able to get back down there. It got everything cleared out, so there was only a shitload of water for several hours. And I went down there today to get my new sub pump hooked up, and it's working great now. So avoided substantial damage. I thought, oh my God, my financial situation has totally been destroyed by a flash flood. What sucked was we got so much water that we had regular flooding, but we had a flash flood on top of a regular flood.
Holy cow.
So there was nowhere for the water to go. If my sub pump hadn't failed, I would have been just putting water out into the street that was just coming right back into my house. It was insane.
Man.
But it worked out okay. And I think I'm going to use it as our thumbnail this week. There's a picture. I put it up on Twitter when it happened. I'm on a road, and it looks like I'm looking at a lake, and all you see are two little peaks, and those are barns.
Holy cow.
Well, it's crazy. So that was interesting. But luckily, as far as our records and stuff are concerned, works fine. And like I said, we had no data loss. So it's just kind of inconvenient right now. But two things that led from that. One is AT&T provided such shitty customer service that I now have switched internet providers. So
okay.
It turns out that I was able to double my internet speed without contracts. No contracts, no special bundles. I doubled my internet speed from like 45 down to 100 down, and from 5 up to 10 up, and I paid $12 less a month. So that worked out well for me.
Awesome.
It's technically business class internet.
Cool.
Which is fun. I started downloading Rise on my Xbox just to see the high download number. I was getting 100 megabit a second download for a game. I'm like, oh, now I know these San Francisco guys that don't care about patches feel like. Like, shit, I'll download a 100 gig game. No big deal. So I've got a new internet provider. Since I have a higher upload speed, I've increased our megabit. What do you call that? How... It's like the compression. Like a DVD is like 50 megabit a second, and I normally broadcast at 2 megabit a second. So whatever that is, the name's lost on me right now. But I increased from, we normally would broadcast at 2 megabit a second. The fidelity's up to 4 megabit a second.
Hey, all right.
So I didn't take us up to 1080p for the podcast, but maybe someday.
Sweet.
I don't want to go too far. We have 0 dropped frames, so... Fingers crossed. Maybe we have a good pipe to the internet.
When we have our own studio.
Yeah. Yes. Well, when we do that, we'll be in... I'm moving to you. You're not coming up this way.
Yeah.
So there's like proper internet in Nashville.
Yeah. Google Fiber.
Yeah, not the strung together corn husks that we have. And then also because of that, when our office and stuff flooded... we had to do a lot of just cleaning up stuff that had been left for a while. Well, they were going to throw this old receiver away, stereo receiver.
Okay.
And my uncle passed away when I was in like kindergarten, so it was like 88, 89, somewhere in there. And no one has touched this receiver since he died. It's just been sitting there. So I brought it home. I restored it. It sounds unbelievable.
Sweet.
It's this giant honk. It's like a huge fucking piece of furniture, basically.
Yeah.
There's an enormous heat sink in it. You can feel like it get warm. It's cool. But I went and looked at all the traces on the solder points, and everything looked good. So I just used some electronics like contact cleaner. And just was thorough as hell and tried to clean it as much as I could. And when I would first try to adjust the volume or the bass and treble or switch the inputs or anything like that, I would have a crackle. But when I was done cleaning it, no crackling at all.
Sweet.
So, and the inputs are working really well. What surprised me was two things. One is back in the late 70s, we have USB ports to provide power to devices, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 full-fledged outlets in the back of this amp. So I stuck a cell phone wall wart in the back of it and hooked my Chromecast audio up to it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds really good, but what surprised me was the tone of the receiver. I didn't think I would get the, I guess, sensation of listening to music in the way that I did as a kid. I just didn't think it would sound the same until I hooked a vinyl record player up to it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there's a real warmth, and it really sounded like the second I started playing it, it reminded me of my mom having the Doobie Brothers on cleaning the house on like a Saturday when I was a kid. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it sounds like this. So of course I went to eBay now that I got it working. But it still sells for $250, $300. It's a sought after receiver.
Sweet.
So, Cat Raid. We got Rick Sanchez.
Oh,
Wubba Lubba Dub Dub.
snap.
What is up? I think Zarek's going to send some people our way. Hey, well, Rick, maybe you can stay with us. Eclipse, what's up? So, the receiver sounds awesome. They had floor speakers on sale at Best Buy. So I have these two like wicked tower speakers and this hi-fi setup, and it's freaking sweet. I got a hipster record player. It was Kickstarted a couple years ago, and it sounds really good. I ended up getting the Radiohead OK Computer 20th Anniversary Collector's Edition. So getting to play that, which is maybe my favorite album of all time, on like a vinyl, it was a really great experience to get to play all that stuff. It was really fun. So, we flooded and survived, and I restored some old electronics. The weird thing about when you go into an old receiver, they're fat solder joints, thick gauged wire. It's not like today where you crack a screen open and you blow on it and the thing doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
I could get in there with a real thick soldering iron, and it's crazy. It's just so different. And like if I need to replace any caps or anything like that, or any resistors, I'm not a good solderer. I could do it without even worrying about it. Like trying to solder jumper cables into my Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
I screwed that up. I'd have to be intentional to screw that up. So, but it's been fun, man. I really have loved. I'm a big music guy, right? So, that has been fun. And also, I want to say welcome to everybody joining us from Zarek's chat. You are all good people. We've got Eclipse, Emmanuel, Jen. What is going on? Ebony Panda. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, Rick's got the Getting Swifty. Have you watched Rick and Morty yet?
a little bit of it.
I know you've watched like 2 episodes with your nephew. I was talking about since then.
No.
Last night I was playing some Forza. There was a custom Hot Wheels skin of Rick and Morty that someone made.
Sweet.
It was badass. Follow us on Instagram. You can see that awesome thing. So, yeah, man, I guess before we get into gaming news this week, I do want to mention one thing. I don't do this at the front of the show very often, and I'm not going to do it very often, but occasionally I am going to mention our Amazon affiliate links up on the beginning of the show. If you would like to support the show, you can use the Amazon links in the description of the podcast or the YouTube channel, and anything that you buy through Amazon after going through our link will give us some credit if you'd like to help us. And I guess we'll leave it at that at this point. So, gaming news. What's up, Zarek, man? Thanks for sharing the audience, dude. I really appreciate it. What's up, Cole? Thanks for joining. Angela, good to see you. So the first thing that caught my attention since our last podcast, which was 2 weeks ago, Nine Inch Nails has released an EP. And in this EP, the first video was for a song called Less Than. If you've not heard the song but you're familiar with Nine Inch Nails, it feels like the single with or Bite the Hand that it sounds like the single Hand That Feeds from the album With Teeth. Came out, I don't know, around 03, 04. But what's interesting, dude, the video is based on Polybius. Are you familiar with Polybius at all?
Is that the like urban legend arcade game?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So for those of you that don't know, Polybius is an arcade machine that has as Dustin called it, an urban legend, which is accurate. The urban legend is that there was this mysterious arcade game that was in a couple of spots in Portland, Oregon in the 80s. And what was crazy was people would get dizzy and sick. Not everybody, but people would get dizzy and sick playing the game, supposedly. And I guess people still were addicted. There were supposed to be long lines. It was really popular. And at the end of every night, or frequently at the end of the day, men in black suits, like Men in Black style, would go in and get data from the arcade game. And supposedly it was this big government conspiracy where it was getting information on the youth, and the ability to make people dizzy and sick was a form of mind control. And it's a cool urban legend for a video game.
Yeah.
And Trent Reznor made the song sounds like a synth wavy. It's got a little bit of square wave chiptune in there a little bit. I think it's excellent. It's a catchy song, but it's cool that he did a video based on that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I missed as far as the lore is concerned that you know of?
No, that sounded pretty thorough.
It was, you know how you buy a car that you think is unique, and as soon as you do, you see it everywhere you look.
Yep.
I just listened to a podcast that talked about Polybius, and then 5 days later, Trent Reznor comes out with the video. I was like, wow. It's just also, related to that Radiohead 20th anniversary edition I was talking about, this is the next news item. One of the things is there's demos and unreleased tracks on a cassette that came in the collection. There are ZX Spectrum noises at the end of one of the sides of the tape. It's on both sides. Well, of course, Reddit went after it and ran the noises through ZX Spectrum emulators, and sure enough, there are Easter eggs in there. And it's basically like credits. You have the band members' names, the producers' names, some track listings. But it's pretty cool. They intentionally did that. One of the last things that said is, we have like too much time on our hands or something like that. Or, no, they were like, we need to get out more. Because they're sitting there coding Easter eggs for a cassette, which is great. Rick Sanchez says Polybius was made in 1981. And Dustin's trolling him back. You got to spell stuff right, though, man. But yeah, that's really cool.
No guarantees.
No, yes. The next thing, did you happen to click on this article about Oculus at all?
I did not.
So there's it looks like there's a projection of Oculus to have a $200 wireless standalone headset in the works to be released in 2018. If it's standalone and $200 and can produce a similar experience to, the Vive and the current Oculus, you could really see VR take off.
Yeah.
I mean, $200, that's the Christmas gift price. That's a special birthday price. That's if you're under 40 and single, that's an impulse buy price. And if it's standalone, you wouldn't need the monster rig. You wouldn't need a PS4. Fingers crossed. That'd be great. Or an $800 phone that you strap into goggles. The next thing that we have is our good friend Duhmez sent us this in an email. So on John Hancock's channel, do you know who John Hancock is on YouTube? It's got an unbelievable retro game collection. I want to say he has more than one complete system. He's been featured on like
John
other
Hancock.
guys that you would know, Happy Console Gamer, Games 81, I think Lazy Game Reviews. He had a guy on his channel that has a Famicom RAM adapter that has an SD card slot in it. So it's a flash cart for Famicom Disk System games.
That's awesome.
Which I thought was really cool. Abraham, we'll get to the Atari box here in actually just a second. I took it off the notes, ironically, for this, but since someone's asking about it, I guess we'll talk about it a little bit. I don't. You've got a Famicom. Well, you got the Duo with the eye. Yes, there it is. Well, okay, hold on. What was that called? I forget. Something eye, right?
You're thinking of the JVC XI, which was the Sega Genesis Sega CD
Boom.
made by JVC.
So what's
That's
that
the
one called?
Sharp Famicom Twin.
Famicom Twin. They're both gray, so you can, or that dark gray, so you can, cut me some slack there. Well, actually, you're referencing the 1994 release of the Sega Genesis. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I watched what's his name, Renee, I think, from DB Electronics, put out a blog post warning about flashcards hurting your system potentially. So now I'm all paranoid. Retro USB on YouTube did an interview with them. They're friends. They do the Retro Roundtable together. And he's an electronic engineer. It's not like bullshit, but apparently some flash cartridges can not regulate power the right way. And the thing is, they can confirm that it will definitely hurt your system. But is it, you would get 30 more years out of your Genesis, and using this, now you only get 29? Or is it, you would have had 30 years, and now you get 2?
Yeah.
That nobody knows. And so their basic point seemed to be, if it's a common system, go for it. But if it gets into like a TurboGrafx 16, something that's a little fussy, they're a little weary of it. Which makes sense. I'm not too tempted. Of course, Duhmez senses this. He's the flashcart king.
Yeah.
I think the idea is pretty cool. Just the fact that you can have one specifically for that. You can do it in emulators and stuff, and I think that there are some flashcarts already that support disk system stuff. But again, then you're emulating the disk system function, and I don't know. I think it's cool to have it as stock as possible, I guess. But the Atari flashcart, or Atari box, I'm sorry. So the Atari box, have you followed that at all?
Not at all. I saw Atari and I was like, meh. I'm good.
The reason I'm asking you is because it's tying into Blade Runner, it looks like. Now, is this Atari box release? Because, Atari logos in Blade Runner. It's also part of the new marketing. So, Atari is really going to be in the minds of everybody as Blade Runner comes out. But the Atari box, there's nothing much to really say. They released some images of what it is, but we don't have specs. We don't have a game lineup. It looks like there's going to be HDMI. It'll probably come with a great selection of Atari games, but that's relative, right? There's not, we've talked about it before. I don't really like Atari. I know you don't really like it much either. But it also says it's going to have, there was something like PC support or PC parts or something like that. So it's giving me the feel that, like an Ouya 2.0 maybe? Like you'll be able to maybe sideload some stuff, or it'll be kind of a Raspberry Pi situation, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
If you go to Google Images, though, and you look up the Atari box, there's some renders that they sent out to tease. It looks really cool. It looks like the natural progression of an Atari 2600.
Wood grain?
Of course. Obviously.
All right.
Obviously.
I'm in.
My receiver's got, wood grain on it, so I had to get a wood grain stand for it. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a little bit of a curve coming out here. That's the edge of there it is. That's the new system. It's weird to have so much of a part of my room dedicated to just, speakers. But no one sat there anyway, so I don't feel too bad about it. But yeah, I mean, the Atari box, honestly, Abraham, I have very low expectations for it. So maybe it'll be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
But part of me feels like it's just, I mean, Atari is a brand company now. They don't make anything. They just sell their logo, basically. So I think that's maybe all that it is. But we'll see. It'll just be a good streaming box. Like, if my Roku looked like a 2600, sure. All right. It's not a bad idea. Maybe I can get Jeremy from the Cartoon Retrocast to 3D print me a 2600. I can just drop my Roku in. Next up, have you seen anything about Supergiant Games' new game Pyre that was released?
I saw people were playing it, and I was like, "Hey, I never played Bastion
Wait, you never played Bastion?
or Transistor."
I knew you didn't play Transistor. I'm surprised you didn't play Bastion. I think you'd like it.
I probably would. Yeah.
Abraham says the Atari box will not be like the Ouya. I hope so. I guess I just don't know what else to expect since they haven't made anything in so long.
Yeah.
You know, they just licensed their logo to Hot Topic or whatever. So
Right.
low expectation. Maybe it'll be a fun thing and I'll want to own it. I don't feel like it'll be, based on some of the nuggets of information that are out there, it doesn't seem like it's going to be like an NES Classic or SNES Classic. It's going to have a little bit more there than such a lockdown thing. But I guess we'll see. Pyre, though, I haven't watched any trailers. All I've heard is people are like, it is not what I was expecting, and it's awesome.
Right.
So I'll put that on my wish list. Greg Kasavin, the CEO, was on our podcast when Bastion came out years ago.
Yeah.
And it was, so I'm biased, of course.
Right.
But I loved Bastion. That's one of my favorite games of the last generation. And I like Transistor a lot, too. So I'm excited. I did hear Brad Shoemaker on the Bombcast say, I keep forgetting that some of the guys at Supergiant Games worked on RTSs. So I'm like, oh, I thought it was more like a JRPG. So
Yeah.
I'll be getting it eventually once it goes on sale, I think, because my backlog's too bad. If I was fiending for a game right now, I'd get it right away.
Yeah, I was listening to the Bombcast trying to hear about it, and they were talking about Smash Mouth for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's probably the attitude people will have towards us on this podcast. Like, I get it, you flooded. Move on. Games, please. The next bit in the news, did you happen to see the story from Eurogamer about the Doom Marine?
I have not.
So
But I can click on it and summarize it for you.
Well, I'll cut to the chase then, I guess.
Okay.
So when they were trying to put together the box art for Doom over at id, I guess they brought in a male model to pose or whatever, and it kind of reminds me of Phil Collins and Genesis, actually. So what ended up happening is they couldn't get any pictures of this model that they liked. So John Romero was like, screw it, this is what I want you to do. So I guess he ripped his shirt off, held a gun, and told the model to like grab at him. And that was actually the shot they ended up using to make the Doom Marine. So he's actually the model used for the Doom Marine. And they had kind of kept it quiet all these years.
Cool.
You know, other than John Carmack, who else could it be? You know?
Yeah.
The fact that it's not a generic, just like an artist sat down, the fact that they modeled it is really cool. The reason I said it reminded me of Genesis and Phil Collins was when Peter Gabriel left Genesis in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They were auditioning singers. And Phil Collins would show people how he wanted it sung. And no one they auditioned was as good as Phil Collins. So the other two guys were suggesting, hey, why don't we just get a different drummer? And you be the singer now. And that's how it came to be. That's how he became the frontman back when they started, they were basically like a jam band. He was the drummer. He's still a very good drummer. I just recently watched I think it was Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something. So Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits played Money for Nothing with Sting, whose background vocals on the original song. Eric Clapton and Phil Collins was the drummer. It was a fun... It was a fun YouTube video. So that's cool. John Romero is the Doom Marine. Then 2 other quick items. One, Axiom Verge is confirmed. It's coming to the Switch retail. So congratulations. I'm glad that a person that takes 5 years to develop a game by themselves, every pixel, every note, everything was done by Thomas Happ. So the fact he's being able to release this game on multiple systems is awesome, and it's a great game. It's $30, which is more than it's been on any other platform. But that's kind of the Switch way. However, I will say Axiom Verge is absolutely worth $30. Abraham's trolling us. That's funny. Talk about the Atari box. Zarek says this Atari box is trying to hop on the mini Nintendo money, in my opinion. The timing seems to be too coincidental. It does seem like they are going for more functionality, though. Abraham says the Atari box will compete with the PS4 and the Xbox One. Rick Sanchez, I'll get Tim in a second. And then he says again, talk about the Atari box. Rick Sanchez also says, what are your thoughts on Call of Duty World War II? We are not fish people, so we don't play COD. That's a good pun for you, Dustin. He even brings up the fish there. I can't take credit for that joke. That's from Rick Sanchez. Yeah, well, we don't really have anything to say on Call of Duty. I haven't played a lot of Call of Duty ever. I think the last time I played was a free weekend on Ghosts on PC. From a couple years ago. What about you?
I played Black Ops 2.
Okay.
I reviewed that, but that was so long ago. We actually posted it on GP20.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Or G2P.
Yeah.
Whatever that website was.
Yeah. I think it still exists, but nothing's been posted to it in like 3 years.
Yeah.
That was neat because that was when YouTube and Blip were. You didn't know which way gaming was going.
Yeah.
So our Blip stuff was on G2PO. Yeah, it was a weird time. Boy, the CPMs were really good back then, though.
Yes, they were. Man, they were.
We'd make in a month now, but we'll make all year if we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
But I also think they were doing some shenanigans, potentially, because after a couple of months, like, our AdSense account got shut down.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 theories. I won't get into them, but I've got 3 that I think are legit. But it's been fine. Rick Sanchez says Ghost was the worst, still not fish game. You know, it's funny. You hear people say like COD or COD Blops or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It never dawned on me that it sounds. I hear COD in video game context, and I never think of a fish. And if I know that like McDonald's has COD or whatever in their fish fillets, I never think, oh, that sounds like a video game.
If they ever did a superhero Call of Duty, then they could call it Cape Cod.
Very good, sir.
Golf clap.
And then, so yes, congratulations to Axiom Verge. And if you've never played the game, I would highly recommend getting it if you haven't, and if you have the Switch and looking for a game. It's basically Metroid. Just a really good, modern, polished Metroid.
Yeah.
And then the last thing in the news, the Ready Player One trailer dropped. Obviously, I didn't watch it.
Me either.
I've heard... Meh is the best I've heard about it. Everyone's dogging it.
I've been wanting to Google why people aren't hip to it.
My understanding or my impression is that it seems really it seems really heavy-handed with, like, hey, remember this? Like the Memba berries from South Park. Did you ever see those?
Mhm.
And like okay, Jesus.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You have a real life and a family, so not knowing these pop culture references is fine. It sounds like it was just heavy-handed with, hey, remember this nostalgia piece? Remember this nostalgia piece? Remember this nostalgia piece? Whereas that doesn't really convey the fact that it's a personal story about a character.
Okay.
So, who knows? Maybe the story will be told well. Since you and I have both read the book, it'll be interesting to see what we think of. But I officially have very low expectations for this movie.
Okay.
My friend Matt that got me to read Ready Player One, he was not impressed with the trailer. So, maybe it'll be great. But I really hope the character is what's important about it and not the flashiness. Because, yeah, there's a lot of great references in the book and whatnot. And Family Ties is one of my favorite shows also. But that's not what made it fun to read the next page. You wanted to find out what happens in his personal situation.
Yeah.
And the trailer didn't seem... Again, I don't want to watch it because I don't like trailers. It didn't seem like that was conveyed in this trailer. So... Did Dustin just talk about the fancy voice acting?
Not yet, Eric. We're gonna get there. At the very least, it'll probably sell books. Everybody and their grandmother will be like, "Oh man, the book was so much better in the review." So hopefully, people will just go buy the book.
I got a hardbound copy, and it's on my shelf of knickknacks next to my TV.
Mm-hmm.
If it's bad enough, or like, will I be hipster? If it's a stocking stuffer for everybody, am I gonna be like, that was so like cool that I had that before, but now everyone's got that book. So
yeah, but yours will be the one that doesn't say now a hit motion picture.
Brought to you by Steven Spielberg or anything. Yeah, you're right.
Starring Flavin, whoever the guy's going to be.
I don't know, a single actor in there. My buddy John would send me information about that, and I'm like, dude, stop sending me. I don't even want to know casting.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Is he in it? I'd take some Harry Potter in my Ready Player One.
Yeah.
I like the book, and Ernie Klein seems like a really nice guy. So,
Max von Sydow.
I hope it does well, and I hope it's not a turd. So,
I don't know. I like Ghost in the Shell, so my standards are apparently pretty up.
Different. We'll say different. I need to watch that. I think I'm going to do it in reverse order, though. Since you and Chris Stuckman like the new Ghost in the Shell,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to watch that before I watch the old 90s anime.
Okay.
You know, if I watch the source material and then see the new one, I could see why that could be an issue for some people. I'm really glad I never read Watchmen because I loved that movie. It's one of the few Zack Snyder movies I love. And it seems like if you read the novels, there were so many changes that it irked a lot of the fans.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it. So, anything else you want to say about the news before we get to our next segment?
I think we're good.
So let's get to our YouTube channel of the week.
YouTube channel of the week. Who did we do last time?
Chris Bucci.
Oh, okay, yeah, sweet. Yeah, Spider 1A.
Yes.
So this time, let's do Luke Morse. He is the inventor of the Morse code, and his YouTube channel breaks it all down. No, he's a collector / repair guy, and he's been on for a while, quite a while.
We've talked about him before for sure.
Mm-hmm. But I put him back in there because I watched a video he did where he found Nintendo and a few games that were in a barn somewhere.
Okay.
And he takes them all apart and fixes them, and it's pretty cool.
I will watch that since I just did that, and I like to watch John Jacobson repair arcade machines.
It's really cool to see what years in a barn will do to a Nintendo.
I bet. So what kind of things? Like, did he find like crazy cobwebs in there, or?
Like, it looked like stuff had lived and died in there. In the Nintendo, especially the like the power supply unit, like where it plugs in, was like completely rusted through,
Like
and
oxidized and.
yeah, it was basically just one big chunk that kept flaking off, and it was really cool.
I would have. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that when I get back. Why do I enjoy watching people fix stuff? I know you do too.
Just seeing someone who understands the way things work that well is really, it's impressive. It feels really good to take something that doesn't work and make it work again.
Yes, that's very satisfying. But why do I? You're right. It is impressive, and I think that's where it comes down. The fact that it's impressive, and I enjoy learning still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So. Also, Rick says, "Who wants to play video game tennis for two? It's older than Pong."
Does it have online multiplayer?
Have you paid attention to any of the, speaking of online multiplayer, have you paid attention to any of the Switch, Nintendo app thing?
No.
You know how you're going to need an app to do, like, party chat and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you get out of the app in any way, it disconnects you. So if you were even going to answer a text or just look at anything, I want to say even if you put your phone to sleep or if the screen shuts off, it's laughably bad apparently. Like no wonder it's free.
Man, that's great.
Is Eric referencing something here? What are you saying? I'm just a soldier. I've never done anything to make people angry. Is that referencing something?
That's almost said Fatal Frame. Final Zone 2.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah. I'm about to talk about it.
Oh.
In the games.
Oh, was he looking at our show notes maybe? Or is that one of the 3 games you played?
That's one of the games I played
and
put up on the channel.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to that. So yeah, Luke Morse, Morse is Morse, and his direct YouTube channel is just youtube.com/LukeMorse1. And you'll find it. And I'll also have the Barn NES video linked in the description as well. If anybody wants it, just speak up and we'll throw the link in the chat as well. All right, before you jump into your section, I'm very impressed with how good the TurboGrafx 16 looks on the stream.
Yeah.
I thought it looked great.
That's good.
I was surprised. So yes, I just spoiled the great news.
My Turbo Duo is back.
Fixed.
It is back in my possession, and it works. You can hear everything. So yeah, guy got it back to me this Saturday.
That seemed quite quick. It still seemed ahead of what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm. And I immediately started playing games on it.
As you do.
Yeah.
Did he give you? Did he just shotgun like all the caps and stuff in it?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Good. So it should be rock solid for a while.
Yeah, he redid even the ones that I redid before I sent it to him. He redid those to make sure all the traces were good to go, and he did all the caps. He checked my AV port just to make sure that it was good, and sent me some aftermarket AV cables because we suspected that mine were just starting to short because they're old. They're original.
Yeah.
Yes, Xeric says you have to watch the video, the Final Zone 2 video. He put a meme of he put a meme in the comments, and it's excellent.
Okay. I saw that he posted a meme or a JPEG. I was glad it wasn't flagged. He's on our whitelist of he can post anything and not get flagged. So I was happy that he didn't go into that folder. I'll watch that tonight. I was I watched the Dungeon Explorer 2 one.
Yeah, and I'm pissed about that because I played that right after my OBS updated, and when it updated, it changed my settings, so I had zero commentary on there.
Yeah,
that was a bummer.
Was it? I think I might have checked out the beginning of Final Frame. I of course I didn't watch it because I missed the joke. One of them had some quiet commentary. I could hear you, but I would have cranked it up if I could have.
Yeah. All right.
But again, man, I can't believe that those were just straight composite out and streamed.
It is running through I have an upscaler, but it's that one that I use to. I basically just run all my composite through it.
Yeah.
But I bought it so I could use my Amiga CD32. So it'll convert PAL to NTSC.
So you can convert NTSC to PAL. That's an old reference.
But yeah, apparently, yeah, it looked all right with the Turbo Duo, despite the fact that it makes it 720. I wish it kept it 4x3.
When I run into that issue, like any Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo games I play have that issue, and I just resize the box in OBS.
Huh.
So
is there an easy way to do that?
Yeah, just grab the corner of the box and just drag it till it looks good for you, and then there's a quick center, so you can just center whatever box you have into the screen. So you just make the proportions look what you're happy with as far as like 4x3.
Mm-hmm.
Then just click center picture, and it just is perfect. Because my streams with the open source scan converter, all those are manually put back instead of being stretched out.
Oh.
So those have all been manually done myself.
Okay.
Because natively they come widescreen like that, no matter what I do. Because with the OSSC, there's a lot of granularity with the output settings, but only one of them actually shows up through the Elgato.
Okay.
So I have no choice, so I had to squeeze it in. Yeah, so that's easy to fix since you're using OBS.
Okay. I'll have to do that from this point forward. Speaking of the open source scan converter, I haven't picked one up yet, but on 2 occasions I have had it in the cart, all the information filled out, and like my finger hovering over the button.
It's awesome. If you're gonna be with the Turbo graphics streams for a while, I thought it looked pretty damn good. I wouldn't mess with it that much.
Well, see, here's the thing: is I invested in some more HD Retrovision cables.
Oh, so now it's becoming worth your while.
Yeah, I have the Sega Genesis set, I have the Super Nintendo set, and I now have the adapters for my Neo Geo CD and the Sega Saturn here.
Oh, hell yes.
So now I have like 4 systems. It would be Sega, Neo Geo, Super Nintendo, Sega CD, Sega 32X, Sega Master System. Yeah, so Sega Saturn.
That's a lot of RBG. RGB. I don't know why I got really confused on that. That's enough systems that since you run the finances, that's easy to justify in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, those guys, Nick and Stay are pretty cool. They would, they make great stuff. They have good manufacturers, so it's not like you're not going to use these cables for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Those like every time I buy one of those cables, I'm surprised at how heavy duty they are.
It's I'm glad. It feels like collectors. I'm glad that I'm paying a premium price. It's expensive. It's like $50 a cable basically. After it's all said and done, but it feels like a $50 cable.
It does, yeah.
Not like the Best Buy gold-plated HDMI $50 cables. What were those called? Monster cables or something?
Yeah, yep.
So you play 3 games on stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which 3?
I played Final Zone 2, which has not only I told Xeric the other day, it's the greatest game ever made, except for the bad gameplay.
Which one was the shooter? Does this one have?
Gate of Thunder.
Okay, that was the one that I watched and I thought you had lower, but I loved the visual of that.
Yeah,
that game was super
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, it's great. The difficulty level is just right. Like you're constantly, like you have 3 different weapons that you can fill up, and your homing missiles.
Okay.
After you fill those up, anytime you get a power up, it does like a screen wiping bomb.
Really?
Yeah, and it's constantly giving you force fields, which gives you 3 hits.
Okay.
So you pick it up, and I haven't played that game in years. I haven't played a shooter in a while, and I still can get like 2 or 3 levels deep, and it feels good.
I love the idea that there's that nuclear option once you're, which I'm probably saying that wrong. I know Duhmez is going to write into us. He's corrected me on that before. Nuclear? I forget how to say it. My Ohio accent fucks me up on that one. But that risk reward of knowing that you could clear the screen, but there's an enemy that could be coming at you, and it's going to be like down to the pixel on whether you wipe the screen or die from being a smidge late. It got me so excited watching that I almost streamed R-Type yesterday instead of Donkey Kong.
Oh, man.
Because I was like, oh, do I want to do a shooter? No, he just did that. But it got me in the mood to play. I really wanted to.
So, going back to Final Zone 2, the intro song to it is amazing. Like, it's terrible. Like, the amount of terrible in this song is surprising. And then the lyrics are baffling. And that's just the title screen. You press the start button, and this game is the reason I named the Turbo Doer streams Fancy Action Now.
Okay.
Because it's the intro starts with you're out in space because it was the early 90s and it was anime, and your space colony gets attacked, and you're in this suit, like this, not even like a Gundam, which is like stories tall. You're in like, you may be 9 feet tall. You're in this exosuit. Okay. So it's a small, you survive re-entry through the atmosphere and land on planet Earth.
Of course.
And that's, you wake up and you're like, the guy's like, the weapons are fine. I'm surrounded by enemies. Let me show them some fancy action now. That's the line.
Do you think that's a loss in translation thing?
It has to be, yeah.
Okay.
But it is excellent.
What when you mentioned the gameplay, what style is it?
It's like Commando. It's top down.
Okay.
You're kind of running around. You shoot your machine gun with the 2 button, which would be the B button on the Nintendo pad, and you shoot a bazooka.
Wait, it goes 2-1?
Yeah.
The Master System goes 1-2, doesn't it?
I don't know. Probably. That makes sense.
Huh. I've always heard it was reversed to us because Japanese read differently. The way that they go through pages and stuff. Like, don't
Zerk
they
says,
read right to left?
I don't know.
Like, down.
Not in my Duolingo app.
I know they go down. My friend on the bus when I was a kid, Yusuke, was from Japan. He read books. I remember right to left, and I thought down as well. I forget. It blew my mind as a 13-year-old American that grew up in cornfields to see a Japanese kid reading Japanese on the bus and be like, dude, what are you doing? He was cool. He was an amazing baseball player.
That's nothing but hashtags.
It kind of looked like, I couldn't even understand.
Berserk says, I delivered that line 20 times better than the game did. You have to see it. I'm not going to try and reproduce it. You have to see it.
I'm going to watch it. The way you said it really makes me feel like Symphony of the Night, What is a Human, Little Miserable Pile of Secrets or whatever. Or that's like Hollywood quality compared to Final Zone 2, which is like high school drama club. Okay. Also, it made me think of Magneto, like and X-Men. Welcome to Die. Silly stuff like that. So out of those three, Gate of Thunder, Final Zone, and Dungeon Explorer. Which of those did you like the best? If you were going to sit down right now and play one.
Definitely Gate of Thunder.
Yeah. That game looked cool. I love shoot 'em ups.
Great.
I always have.
The music is amazing. The game is fun. It comes on a disc with 3 other games.
I think the TurboGrafx 16 is a really cool system. Even as a little kid, I always wanted one.
Yeah.
Bonk and that portable TV handheld thing just looked amazing. It just looked so rad. Even after the Genesis was out, I still had an eye for the TurboGrafx 16. And now as an adult, it looks like that system holds up very well. There's a lot of really good games on that system. It looks like.
Totally.
So, well, you've been playing a lot of other stuff, man. This is the longest list you've had in a minute.
Yeah, it is.
And a grip, as we would say 10 years ago.
I played a grip of games. I played Ys Books 1 and 2 because oh my gosh, that's another thing. The music in these games sounds so much better through the Turbo Duo than it does through the Virtual Console.
Oh, I believe it because it's not emulated.
Yeah, it's so good.
Dude, I understand. And I'm not surprised. It just, there's really something about an experience being designed for the equipment that you have.
Yeah.
It really is tough to match.
Yeah, absolutely. I played some more Suikoden.
Well, I hold on real quick before we. Okay. So, how do you enable the CD audio with TurboGrafx stuff if you're using a CD game? Or is it all automatically just there?
Automatically just there.
Okay. And there's no way to like toggle it off, right? Because didn't you say that there are that's the definitive version, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So I thought maybe you'd have to, like, I guess, is there a version that is not on the CD?
Yes. There the Master System.
I guess I just meant, like, is there like a hue card for TurboGrafx? Okay.
No, it's just CD-ROM.
Because there were some Sega CD games that could be enhanced with the CD, I think, that also had just a cart-only release. So I had in my mind it was maybe a situation like that. But as I was asking the question, it seemed like that was a silly question. Obviously, it's just going to be on that disc. But you also played Suikoden?
Yes, I played some Suikoden. I started gaining party members, and I
Okay.
got some levels up. But as soon as I got my Turbo Duo, I completely forgot I owned that game.
I don't blame you. The new
So
hotness.
yeah, I may go back to it. Let's see. I talked about Final Zone. I talked about Gate of Thunder. I of course played some Rondo of Blood.
Naturally. You haven't
That
brought this
game
game up
is
in about a year.
yeah, that game is still the best thing that's ever happened to the human race.
It's one of the best games I've ever played. And
Yeah, it's so
and
good.
I don't have nostalgia goggles.
Yeah,
I mean, I do in a way, but I didn't get exposed to that game until I was an adult. Till you told me to play it. And it's amazing. And Zarek hooked me up with that save file.
I guess it was about 9 years ago I bought my Turbo Duo in that game. I it was like 300, maybe $350, but it was around my birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in my local Player's Choice,
Okay.
which is no longer there now. It was actually so if you're in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, it was on I think Robin Hood Road. But anyway, I was in there and I was like, yeah, for my birthday, I got a Turbo Duo and a Rondo of Blood. And the guy working there was like, dude, who bought you that? Those are awesome presents. I was like, oh, I did. I bought it for myself. I'm very thoughtful.
It's the details, man. You showed that you cared.
Oh, man. But yes, Rondo of Blood is excellent.
You remembered I liked that game?
I didn't get very far before I died the first time. And I was like, man, I used to be able to beat basically every boss without dying or without getting hit.
I still can't get through. I'm at the very end still and cannot. There's like that dual boss. There's like the dragon head and death that kind of float around in that same same room before you get to Dracula.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's so hard. I know that's going to be the hardest point in the game for me. Once I get through that, I'll be able to beat Dracula. I'm not concerned about
Dracula's a breeze by comparison. Yeah.
that. Like that's it's so damn hard though. Someday.
And going back, the sound is so much better on the Turbo Duo.
Oh, I would. Do you have the Chronicles X?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious if that emulation has sound degradation that's substantial, the way that you can tell. Because you played on the Wii, is that where you got it to play it on our stream? Nintendo's got shitty emulators, so I'd be curious to see if the PlayStation emulated version, how that stacks up to the authentic.
If I can get my copy of Vegas to work, I could do a video, just a real quick sound try, sound test.
Well, I mean, even then though, it's compressed through YouTube and rendered down from Vegas.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You could tell, but still not perfect. I'm too much of an audio snob now, I guess. Buy one turntable and I did buy in high school. I bought a real shitty turntable because I found all my parents' old records, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool just because you can't like skip. Like you're forced to listen to what you put on.
Yeah.
There's something kind of nice about that. Abraham says the Atari box is confirmed to play modern games and have PC technology. But I'm wondering, like, what modern games there are. If this is a great, like, indie box, like, runs Super Meat Boy and Axiom Verge and all that, and has the full lineup, that could be a pretty compelling device.
Maybe it just plays like PS4 and Xbox One and Switch games.
Yeah, but then they'd have to sell it for $400, and no one would buy a new Atari for $400.
If it played all of them, it did. It would.
Okay. This reminds me of an interaction I just had at Speedway. So I know you're being facetious, but I'm at Speedway earlier today, right? And the guy's like, "Do you have a Speedway card?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, can I sign you up for one?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Why not?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't want my information tracked." And I said, "I don't want my information tracked more than it already is." He's like, "It's not. It's tied to the it's on the card. It's on the card." Dude, if there's an alternate ID, it's not on the frickin' card. If you can get me a replacement card, it's not on the card. They know exactly what you buy and when you buy. That's how they give you your points or whatever. But I mean, how do you sit there and explain? You know, I'm trying to check out and leave, so I just got to chalk that up as an argument that you're not gonna have time to have. But it just made me think, like, this guy's lying to people. And he doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
So, but that's how that felt. So, sorry. Okay, we're we can get back on track after that.
It's on the card, Scott.
It's just the card.
That's it.
Speedway's not tracking you. They just give stuff away for free. No, the NSA is just looking to give out coupons.
Alexa is right now.
Hey. Thank God I've got earbuds on. I don't need her chirping up right now.
Alexa, quit talking to NSA.
Hey, as long as I don't commit murder, I should be fine. Okay. All right. So back to video games.
Rondo of Blood is excellent. The second alternate stage where you're on the bridge with the blue sky is the best video game music, tied with the moon theme from DuckTales.
Okay. Boy, I'd have a really hard time picking my favorite video game music. I'd have a really hard time doing that. I'd have a hard time doing a top 10. Even if there wasn't like an order, just my 10 favorite tracks. It would be tough. Maybe someday we'll hash that out as a bonus episode or something.
Oh, man. Chrono Cross. The overworld theme for that is so good. Somebody started playing it on a podcast, and I got so happy I almost got emotional.
Really?
Yeah, like it just surprised me all of a sudden. I was like, "Oh, Chrono Cross, man, that's so good."
I never played that, and that sounds overwhelming. It sounds impenetrable for me. There's so many characters and old game design.
I play it now, and I'm like, man, they could have made a sequel to Chrono Trigger. Like, as far as game mechanics go, that sure would have been awesome.
Yeah, that game's still really fun. I don't even like that style. So yeah, you got a couple more here. Played some Streets of Rage.
Oh yeah, Solly is like way into Streets of Rage for some reason. He wanted to play a 2-player game. Well, yeah, that too. But he prefers Streets of Rage 1 over Streets of Rage 2 because the special move is you hit it and the car comes up and the cop like either shoots a rocket or they shoot a minigun. Like, it's really elaborate and takes a while, but it looks awesome. Okay. And Solly loves that.
Makes sense. I think Streets of Rage 2. Is that what I have? I've got one of them.
But I'll tell you what your 4-year-old will do is as soon as the stage starts, he hits that button because he likes to watch the animation. And he doesn't understand that that's something that you should keep for the bosses.
I was going to say, strategy be damned.
Yeah. And I feel my blood pressure in my face, but I'm like, it's fun, buddy. We're having fun.
You know, at some point he'll start to, and they're not too long. He'll get so good at getting to the boss, and then when he keeps dying, it'll just click. Like, oh,
yeah, it'd be a lot easier if I could just take half of their hit points away.
I'd totally say that, but then you gotta warn him because if he gets into RPGs, he's never gonna spend anything.
Right? Yeah,
you know, he'll beat the game with 100 mana, or 100 potions.
I do that.
I know. Exactly what I'm getting at.
Oh goodness. But yeah, he's really into Streets of Rage. It's fun playing 2-player with him. I hope. I've been thinking about. I don't know how good it'll pick up on the mic, but just playing with him on a stream.
Why not?
Yeah.
If you put it have you seen any of the ones I've done with my brother?
Mm-hmm.
That's just this microphone sat in between us on a TV tray.
Okay.
So
if I just use my magic extendo arm and put it between us, it should come out all right.
yeah, I have an old stand that I used to have. Yeah, if you just rig something up, it worked fine.
Okay. I might do that then.
These Samsung USB mics are shockingly great for how old they are now. I think our audio quality sounds awesome with them, and they pick up sound really well. That's cool. That's fun that he's moved on as well, because it's been Shovel Knight, Mega Man, and Sonic.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see him and getting a little bit more mature. You know, it's pretty cool to beat guys' asses in games. It's fun. You just feel powerful. That's cool.
I didn't put it on my list, but because of Xeric, I was playing some Skyrim before I got on the stream.
Oh.
And Solly was sitting in the room watching me. And I was trying to... Like, some of that stuff is kind of spooky. Like, in some of the caves with the Draugr, which are like these zombies.
Okay.
But luckily, watching him is hilarious. Because I'll shoot one of them with my bow and arrow, and they'll start running at me. And Solly will be, like, sitting in the chair, like, twitching. Like, get him. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I put Elder Scrolls Online back in yesterday. I haven't gotten to the tutorial yet, or through far enough where I can play with Tony. But I need to do that now that you say that. And then also you played Shockman. What's that?
Yes.
Should I know what that is?
That is kind of a Mega Man-ish game for the TurboGrafx 16.
Okay.
And it... Like, you play it, and you're like, man, this is almost like Mega Man, but the one thing that it doesn't share with the Mega Man is the awesome controls. So it doesn't feel super great. But,
if the level design's not cheap, you can get past that.
Yeah.
Unless you're constantly thinking of Mega Man.
Yeah. It's just the jump is a little off, or...
Like floaty,
it's just not
or delayed,
as good.
or what would you... How'd you
it feels
describe
delayed.
it? Okay.
Like, I'll go to jump off something, and I'll just walk off of it.
I've been doing that a lot lately.
Maybe I'm just getting old.
With all games. I think that's what it is. Because I even switched from using a dongle. I used a hardwired NES or Super Nintendo controller for my stream yesterday. I still just walked off the edge. And it's like, well, it's not a latency issue. I just suck.
Maybe it's all the different hoops we put our systems through just to display.
I would love to tell myself that. I know that's not true. Like, there's got to be some latency introduced, right?
Yeah.
I just don't... I don't think it's affecting my ability to press the button in an appropriate amount of time. I don't. You've got another couple steps though. Maybe. Although no, you weren't streaming that. You were just walking off edges in Shockman.
Yeah.
So is there anything in the chain that could be causing the delay for you?
Well, it goes through that upscaler.
Okay. That could definitely introduce some latency.
To the Hapog. Actually, it goes upscaler to HDMI switch to Hapog to TV.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Maybe, what if it's like milliseconds per device? It
stacks, like compounding interest. Like 2%, you wouldn't think. Get out of hand fast. If it's weekly compounded, I hated those kind of problems. Did you ever have any accounting classes or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
I hated those questions. Would you rather
Yeah.
have a 5%
I remember thinking, man, I wish I
ROI?
had a savings account with compound interest. That
Right?
sounds great.
Oh, shit.
Where are those at?
Yeah. I could afford to fix my crawl space if I had some investments like that. You should put Shockman on the to-do stream list. You should get some videos of that sometime.
Yeah, it's one thing I have noticed since this whole Turbo Duo shenanigans has started is all of those games have skyrocketed in price. All of them.
You have the golden touch when it comes to video game investing.
Apparently.
You being in IT, you screwed up, man. You should be selling. Should be day trading.
I should be reselling.
Reselling. Boats and games. And then you also get a rabbit's nest to untangle, it looks like.
Yeah. So I had 4 days off recently, and I did an office reorganization. Kim and I kind of tackled it together because it was getting out of hand.
Is your bathroom done?
It is, yeah. That's
okay. So you had to move on to something else, of course.
Right.
The homeowners do.
Yeah. But I pulled out all the crap that I didn't want anymore. I got those cables in, so now my Super Nintendo, my Sega Genesis, and my Neo Geo should all stay hooked up permanently now.
Oh, that feels so good.
Yeah. When I got my SNES cables, the first thing I tested it with was Demon's Crest.
Okay.
It looked great. Looked really good. And since I did that, I reorganized some of the stuff around me. Like I found in a box, that right there is a complete copy of Dungeon or Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
I would have guessed that's Dungeon Warrior. Okay, hold on.
Up here,
right
this
there.
may not be familiar.
Okay, for it's not, but it kind of looks like Back to the Future, like from my perspective.
That's my PCFX.
Okay.
And
that's what what's that?
Zinky FX Vajurafight.
Oh, I was really close.
Right? Which is Japanese for Back to the Future.
Yeah, who'd have thought? Hell yeah, man.
But I had the worst problem anyone can have in this world is I was starting to run out of room for my video games. So I had to do some reorganization. So my Neo Geo used to be here, and it's over here beside me. So I put this up here so I can fit games in my 3 shelves.
And it's an amazing backdrop, so you can't just start doing the Happy Console Gamer where he'd like every crevice of his shelf.
I can't.
I'm waiting for it to fall on him someday.
Yeah.
Or he's got one shelf that's bowing real bad, and it has
underneath all
years.
those strategy guides.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my goodness.
For years I've been waiting for that thing to fucking crack. I love his channel. He's so cool. Good deal. Well, anything else you wanted to chat about?
I think that'll do it. I've been talking for like 8 hours.
We're good. All right. Well, I got a couple quick things. My section will be quite short. I tried some Splatoon 2. My buddy Eric bought it and invited me over. We played a little bit of co-op. Or no, we tried to play co-op, but I didn't have a copy, so we couldn't do it together. So we did the old school co-op where, here, you play a level, I'll play a level. Splatoon, the motion controls have a weird learning curve. So the motion controls control your up and down, but not your left and right.
Okay.
And it was difficult. When it clicks, it makes so much sense and it feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kept fighting my natural instincts. And mind you, we played it like handing the controller back and forth for like an hour or two. So it's not like I could really get into it and just, acclimate myself to that control scheme. But when it works, it does feel really good. And in Breath of the Wild, they do some of that. And there's some stuff with the bow and arrow that I thought was really good with the motion kind of controls. But it's tough, but I can see why people really like it. And I'm tempted to get Splatoon for the Switch. If my back catalog wasn't so bad, I definitely would have gotten it. It seems good. Also, I did play some Cave Story. That game is still really fun.
All right.
The music's still great. Controls well. It's addictive as far as feeling like you're progressing. Again, there's no autosave, so that can be a potential issue. I've come to terms with the fact that I think I'm going to sell my PlayStation VR.
How much?
The bundle I have is going between $350 and $400 on eBay.
I can't afford that.
Oh, good. I don't want you too interested because I couldn't charge you retail. But I think I could probably get $400 if I put in some of the games I had, like VR Worlds, the demo disc, Batman, Arkham, whatever. I think I get about $400 for it, and that's about what I paid. Yeah. At this point, I've kind of gotten my fill of what it's offering, so I guess I'd rather get my money back and just wait for the next iteration. I'm a true believer in VR, and maybe someday I'll get the PlayStation one again, but I don't play it enough, so right now I think I'm going to try to get as much of that money back as I can.
Oh, man. What would you do with $400?
Save
assuming it. You no.
I'm not.
Assuming you're not going to be an adult about it.
I'm going to try to be. I'm not going to go on a spending spree and get like 4 Earthbounds or something like that. I will. I'm going to do some adult stuff, I guess, with it. I'm not going to buy any records. I'm not going to buy any video games. Just going to put it in my savings account.
Why even sell it?
It's kind of getting in the way, too. Again, space is...
But once you free up that space, you could put video games there.
Yeah, and I do actually need to do that. I have a room that has a big kind of Tupperware drawer thing with a lot of my old games, and then my favorite NES games, mostly favorites and co-op or multiplayer, are out here. But I don't have any of my Genesis or Super Nintendo games in my living room. And if I got rid of my PlayStation VR, I'd have a slot in my entertainment center to put some of my heavy hitters on those two systems. Because right now I do have Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo games in this room. But they're scattered across the top of the entertainment center. Yeah, I think I'm going to sell that. And then also, last night I was having a really good time streaming Donkey Kong Country 2 on the Super Nintendo. It's a great pun. You should love this. It's Diddy's Kong Quest.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Although I didn't get that until like a year ago. When it explained to me.
I didn't get it until getting ready for yesterday's stream, if it makes you feel any better. I'm late to that game, too. But I bought this game for a good price years ago. Maybe around when we started the podcast. And it felt like I was like, well, I like Donkey Kong Country. Like, that's a fun game. I guess I'll get the sequel. The first one's not here. I assume that the first one was better. I like 2 more than the first one.
Yeah?
It has Dixie Kong instead of Donkey Kong. And she has this helicopter hair that fights kind of like Shantae. Have you seen those? So she kind of fights like that. And then also, much like Knuckles could kind of float down at any time, she can do that as well. It's awesome. Like, Donkey Kong Country 2 is really good. So I'm having a good time streaming. I'm about an hour into it, and I hit game over. And then dawns on me I didn't hit save. So I had enough energy. Like I thought I was going to stream for a good 2 hours yesterday, and when I saw my progress I lost, I just stopped. I'm like, we're doing an hour, it's over. Like, normally when I do my Tuesday streams on these retro games, I usually do play up to about my first game over.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm really having a good time, I just keep playing. And I was having a really good time. But like, there were some stages, there's some parts I got past that I felt were very difficult, so I was very proud of myself for getting through them. So to try to slog through those again, I don't think it would have added anything to the stream, so left it up. I did try a different graphic setup. I put a still graphic behind it, and then kind of shrunk down the video a little bit. I thought it looked okay, but I don't think I'm going to do that very often. I think I'm going to keep it black background, give me those the biggest gameplay picture possible, and just kind of go with that. I'm really bummed that so my TV and the Elgato do not handle some of the OSSC signals very well. So when I'm doing streaming of the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, I'm only doing that at 480p natively, and it's getting upscaled through OBS to 720. So what you actually see, YouTube will say that it's 720p, 60 frames a second. It's 60 frames a second, but it's not really 720p. If you look, like My Life in Gaming guys would notice, like, that's not 720p, but you know, it looks fine, and it's gameplay. Like, Day 9 is one of my favorite YouTubers. His fidelity is terrible, but he's just great, so I'm not too worried about it. It was stressing me out for a while, but I've just come to accept it, and it's still substantially better than what the Hapogs were doing with those two consoles. So I'm happy with it. Plus, when I was capturing from the others, I had different actual physical consoles. I guess the first Genesis, this is high definition graphics, is really, really good for that, and I found my old one was not broken. And then Tony's Super Nintendo he sent me that replaced the SNES 2 is a one-chip, much better system. So equipment all around luckily got upgraded for me. So I bet that these systems I'm using now would have looked okay with the Hapog, but I'm very happy that it's not the case. Plus, eventually, when new network card or new capture cards come out, I'll be ready to go. The new signal will probably be accepted. I did see Elgato has this thing called like this. It's like a screen thing. It's for streamers, and it's a box with like 15 buttons that you can program, and each button has a display behind it, so you can pick the image that you want to have for the function. So I'd have a physical thing here where I could hit a button and it could show the website that we're looking at, or we could show gameplay footage just by pushing a button.
Cool.
I don't want to... If we ever get to, like, have a significant amount of our time dedicated to this, because financially that's a good thing to do, maybe then I'll, at that time, invest in that kind of a solution. But right now, I could manually do most of that stuff in OBS if I really wanted to. But, man, it would be freaking dope to sit here and... just flip back and forth. I could even have, like, when it was your game section, like, I could hit a button and it would just be a full screen you. And I could hit another button and it would be gameplay in you. Like, it could be really fun. I could be like Roz from Frasier. So yeah, that's been pretty much it for me as far as what I've been playing. I've played a lot of golf, so I haven't played very many video games the last 2 weeks. Yeah. I've been playing very well, though, which is fun. It's just, I'm going to be sad when this year's over. We're already close to August. I don't have that much time left in it. Because I've spent a lot of time outside this year, and it has made a difference. I did not golf very much last year, and I felt like I've had a much more fun summer this year. So, all right, well, let's get to our YouTube comments, and then we will call it a show. You can definitely tell we've been away for a couple of weeks, because we're already at an hour and a half. Quick check-in. Our bit rate, that was the word I was looking for. God damn. Our bit rate, as it's up, I've dropped 0 frames.
All right.
So next week, maybe I'll eke it up a little more. Bit rate. Oh. How did I not? Don't you hate that when
Yeah.
you get tip of the tongue syndrome? So, all right. Well, let's see here. We have stuff from Duhmez. That's what I did, dude. I knew I was forgetting one of our normal things. God, I'm blanking on words again. It's what we do. I guess words are hard.
That's right.
So let's see here. I'll read a couple of. Also, shout out to Jeremy. Jeremy from Cartoon Retrocast commented on last episode. He said, "Coming this fall, Chigger Butt the movie." I've had a couple of people that I know personally that listen. Every single one of them has commented on Chiggers. So that struck a chord with people.
All right.
So shout out to Jeremy. Go make sure to check out the Cartoon Retrocast at cartoonretrocast.com. It's a great podcast, and they're supposed to talk about cartoons. It's mostly just bullshitting now, but it's great. They're very funny. And our good friend Mike Tamashiro, old friend of the show, he's the other co-host, so it's cool. All right, I will read the first few, and then you want to read a couple more?
Sure.
So I'm not going to read the spoilers, but Duhmez is awesome. He wrote spoiler warning in all caps, I don't know, 15, 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then left a comment under that about Castlevania on Netflix. And all I will say, Duhmez, is I freaking love that part too. It was awesome. I am so excited to watch more of that show. And then Duhmez also says, a normal TV gets you 1 show per week, but every 8 weeks or so, they take time off. I think dropping 4 episodes at once gets us sucked in is great, and especially if they're going to give us 4 more and not too long of a time. He also says 10 plus years ago, that was a comment on us, our discussion about 4 versus 26 episodes on Castlevania. He also says 10 plus years ago, even when playing my MMO RPG Lineage 2, all my homies used to call it the ban hammer 2 when someone was banned for botting, etc. So, ban hammer, while it's a new term to me and you, that's, I guess, been standard for
greater than a decade.
Yeah. So but does that make us young? Can we hang our hat on that?
Sure, yeah.
We can.
We don't give very many of those.
On this instance, we are millennials. On this one, we can.
Yeah.
Also, he says, Mighty Gunvolt Burst is so good. I urge everyone to get it. It's cheap and it's so good. The weapon customization is great. He's absolutely right. I fired it up. I forgot to put it in the show notes, but the other night, I picked a new stage, hadn't seen the boss before, struggling with the boss, made a new weapon, got right through the boss. That game's so badass. It's in a $10 Mega Man game. It's so good. All right, last one for me. He says, if you guys need a hookup, I can introduce you to my guy who's sold me my old PC Engine Duo. He replaces all the caps and cleans the CD part and then sells it for a good price. He said, I got mine for Canadian $388, which is $275 USA. But that's pristine. I mean, that's
Yeah.
refurbished,
Yeah.
factory new almost, or factory refurbished almost. So $275. That seems like just below the going rate.
hmm I was just saying. I was just thinking that the exchange rate is nuts
Oh my
between
God, yeah.
Canadian and U.S. dollars.
It
That's.
used to be on par. Like while we had this podcast,
hmm
I remember Kevin on the Para Nerds talking about us having price parity, and then now it's not. I'll leave it at that. Also, the euro used to crush us when I was in
hmm
Spain and when I was in college. All the Spanish kids were. I like numbers, so I was trying to explain to them this strength in the euro that you have right now is not permanent. The dollar will come back very strong and have a lot of parity. And they were like, no, no, no. And I'm like, look, Spain has had some economic issues in the past. I didn't foresee Greece being being the dead weight that it was. I mean, that really pulled the whole price of it down.
Yeah.
And also pounds with the Brexit stuff and whatnot. The exchange rate to pounds isn't bad right now for us. Usually it used to be about like a $1.50, $1.60 would get you a pound, and now it's maybe what, like 120.
Yeah.
So the dollar is actually doing quite well, surprisingly. Because if you read how horrible America is right now, you would think that it's not the case, but America's awesome. And we are doing good.
Was it like Zimbabwe? You need like 5 million of their currency to get like bread or something.
I love when they report on like Nintendo's earnings and they're like, they made 300 trillion yen, which was a loss from down, like what? Or you see a price tag and it's like 30,000 of something for a PlayStation. I'm like, that's a car. That's a luxury vehicle where I'm from.
Yeah.
You
It's
just
like two of my cars.
slap the 3 zeros off and you're good. Yeah, exchange rates are crazy. And I don't understand. I took a really interesting class in college about investing in foreign exchange rates.
hmm
Or it was a part of an investment class I took, not the sole reason for the class. Never made sense to me. It just seems like a total crapshoot. But there's some people that make livings just investing in currencies.
Wow.
Like, good livings. Wait.
Man.
Only I would have bought my Bitcoin, I could be bragging like those guys too.
I know, right? One Bitcoin's like $5 billion now.
I'm mad I sold it. When I bought some Bitcoin, I got pissed at the bank that I used, the exchange. So I closed it and was like, I'm done with this. A Bitcoin was $400 at the time when I bought it. It's over $2,000 now. And this was like a year ago.
hmm
Kicking myself for that one.
I was looking through my couch cushions. I can find one.
There's a graphics card shortage right now because of Bitcoin mining. Like across the board. Remember how I had a graphics card that appreciated in value because it was specifically good at Bitcoin mining?
hmm
Almost all graphics cards now. Like, there's a huge shortage.
Man.
So, texting a kid on YouTube, they're like, look, we normally don't do this, but we're recommending you buying an off-the-shelf PC from Best Buy or a boutique because it has a graphics card in it. And then you could sell the parts off. So you'll actually get the
That's
card
smart.
for... They're like, it's a lot of work, but it's the only way to get it for retail right now.
Yeah.
They're like, and it's also not that bad of a PC, so just, use it if you can. But I was like, man, that's a lot. If I was dying to get a 1080 and that was my only option, I'd put in the effort. PC parts sell on eBay. So, all right, cool. Thank you, Duhmez. We don't need the hookup on the PC Engine stuff. However, if anybody listening would be interested in this, Duhmez can be reached on Twitter at DUHMEZ, or you can send him a message through YouTube, and he'll hook you up with his
He knows a guy.
PC guy. PC Engine guy. So, okay. Next up.
Let's see. He says, I have a hacked Wii Virtual Console file that has Ease 3 TurboGrafx 16 injected into it, swapped with whatever the other game it should have there. So I can play full Ease 3 with CD sound and everything on my Wii, though it was not released on Wii Virtual Console officially because it was too big. Nintendo only allows 45 megs or so for Virtual Console games.
That's why Super Meat Boy never came to Wii. It was supposed to at launch, and they could never get the game smaller than 50 megabytes.
I wonder, like WiiWare stuff. I wonder if that's 45 megs
or less. Oh, absolutely.
All of it?
All of it.
Yeah? Huh.
If it was a downloadable game, it had to be... He says 45. I thought it was 50 or less. Regardless, small files. So all those games, Castlevania Rebirth, all that stuff, Contra Rebirth, those are all made it under the size limit.
Dude, that's cool.
The more you know.
He says, if you want a great PC Engine pad, check out the Avenue Pad 3. It is epic. I have 2 of them.
Cool.
I had to check that out. According to the internet... Were you going to say something?
Just that, nothing important.
Oh, okay. One of those are like $1 million now?
I don't know. I guess I was just going to say, yeah, that's good if your controller breaks, but you just talked last episode about yours are still in really good shape.
Yeah, mine's looking good. According to the internet, Konami JRPG for US region, PS1 Azure Dreams. I've not heard of it. We were talking about Konami JRPGs last time. He said, I just pre-ordered 3 Bayonetta amiibos, but they did not let me choose which outfit version. I hope I get at least one of each.
That's going to be the sexiest amiibo ever.
Or is it going to be the one where she pulls off her like super move and she's basically almost completely naked?
It'll just be hair, just barely covering her.
Yeah.
And then, the internet will have that peeled back and painted. Because that's what Reddit does. I do love Reddit, but...
Oh, like paint her naked?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go the other way where people were going to be like super offended. And...
Oh, well, that too. That yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Because it's Reddit. So that'll all...
Offense and nudity.
Together. Yes. That's how HBO's been successful for a very long time on that principle. Oh, he also mentioned Zookeeper as well.
Zookeeper.
He said a couple of things. It's just below that I've just pre-ordered. Do I see it?
I don't see it.
He says, I'll jump in. He says, a couple of things. My review of Zookeeper, you guys talked about it. I do remember that. He's got a link in the description. I'll link that as well. He says, I made a video showing off all of our Canadian money as well. It's really cool and weird. I recommend you check that out. So I will link that as well. Yeah, well, I made a thumbnail with Canadian money once.
Mm-hmm. Mine's all the way at the bottom. I found that.
Of course, right?
Of course.
Why is it so weird sometimes? YouTube has been changing a lot of stuff. Have you noticed the studio thing and notifications are different? So I guess it's we'll chalk it up to growing pains.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have the next one for him?
Is there more?
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Okay. He says, if you want to get the most out of this game, you want me to check out some... Oh, that's for Cave Story. Oh, I'm looking at comments on other videos. Not. He commented on Cave Story, and he also commented on Dungeon Explorer. He said, I didn't know Dungeon Explorer 2 existed, let alone on the Turbo Duo. I have to give this a try.
Yeah, I was the same way, and I found it for $150 on a website once, and I picked it up.
Of course.
Because it was near Christmas.
always justify it. See, you have got a birthday that is timed where there is always a holiday right there.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's got one similar to that.
And in between, Father's Day.
Yes. And on the other side of in between... Oh, no. I thought it went, like, Christmas, Father's Day, birthday, Halloween, Christmas. But it's Christmas. It's like Christmas, birthday, Father's Day, Halloween.
Yeah.
I found some jack-o'-lantern business pads from us today. Somebody sent us jack-o'-lanterns with our business name at the top. I'll send you a picture of that tomorrow. Okay, that's going to do it for this week, man. Anything else you wanted to mention before we close things up?
I bought a Halloween decoration off of eBay. Because there are these things that my mom bought once, probably from like a Kmart somewhere. But they were sound activated, or like if you touch them, they activated. And it was basically, Dots, the candy?
Yes.
The shape that Dots are?
Okay.
They're shaped like that. And one has like a spider thing over it and has like little legs sticking out. And the other one basically just has a sheet over it, so it's a ghost.
Yeah.
And you hang it up from somewhere, and anytime somebody walks past it and talks, it'll make like a theremin noise.
Okay.
So it's like a woo, that kind of noise, and shakes. And like they're called strobies, and apparently they're super rare. But I mean, they're not like worth billions of dollars, but you might pay like $10 off eBay, which is what I did.
Very uncommon.
They only came out. Yeah, they came out in the 90s, and nobody makes them anymore. So I had to go on eBay and find one of these things so I could have that.
I'm gonna have to look that up. It sounds kind of familiar.
Mm-hmm.
The dots are basically just like thimbles, right?
Yeah, it's basically like a thimble shape. Yeah.
When you were like dots, I'm like, dude, there's a lot of I can point to a lot of dots I'm looking at right now. Talking about the Dippin' kind. My brother worked at a Dippin' Dots kiosk. It was his first job at the mall.
Cool.
It was amazing because his manager only did inventory by the cups.
Okay.
Not by the bags of dots. So you just walk up with a cup. My brother just hook you up because he's like 14 or 15 or whatever. Funny stuff. All right. Well, you'll have to show off the maybe during Halloween this year. You can put it on one of your shelves.
Yeah.
Be in the spirit of it. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for the show. Our streaming schedule.
It from my mic stand. Is you right here?
Or you can split it off over your shoulders. I'm not available one week, and you're just sitting there like podcasting yourself. Like, so our streaming has been very erratic lately. So I'm not going to go through a schedule now. However, I will say, if you do like to watch our streams, or if you've ever would like to catch us live, hit the little bell button next to subscribe on YouTube, and you'll get a notification when we do stuff. But we do tend to stream on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, with regular videos kind of being released in between there, and sometimes only one video for the week, or sometimes maybe none. Generally, we do I don't know, 2 to 4 things a week on our channel. But real life and stuff makes it tough. So if you do want to catch any of that, just hit the little bell notification button. Also, thank you to Ben Landis very much for letting us use his song Through the Forest as our intro music. If you would like an audio version of our podcast, you can get that through our website, classicelite.com, or you can download the show or get our RSS feed. But also, we're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, all that stuff. Social media, you can get a hold of us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and SoundCloud. SoundCloud's fun because I share songs. Follow us now because it's probably going to die soon. They couldn't really monetize SoundCloud, which I understand. So it's struggling. But I love it. It's like Twitter, but just sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a bummer when that goes away. When SoundCloud officially dies, that's going to be when we probably have one single outro song.
Yeah.
So, and then also, again, yeah, Amazon, if you'd like to support the show, especially if you get digital games through Amazon, by going through our affiliate links in our descriptions of our podcast and our YouTube channel, we will get a little commission for that. So it's a good way to support the show if you would like to do that. We don't need much, but every little bit does help. Because it does cost us a little bit of money to do this, but so far we've been able to cover costs for the last several years. So hopefully we can continue to do that. This week for outro music, Dustin, from Easy Allies, the former Game Trailers guys, one of their dudes is named Ian Hink. And he had a video go up where the video is him playing solitaire, but he didn't capture the footage. So it's like this goofy kind of video, but that's not the point. The first 2 minutes of the video are a really cool song that is cut over a lot of video game footage from like wars and stuff. And I didn't realize it, but Ian wrote and did the song, and he does all of them for this segment that he does called Easy Update. So I'm going to play the song he just did. It's called War. And when I don't know what it is, man. He, vibrato, when it's like, when you get that like wobble in your voice. The vibrato, when he's not using his falsetto voice, is beautiful. I just love it. The tone of his voice is awesome. And Brandon Jones also has an incredible singing voice. Bastards. I'm so jealous. I want a good singing voice in the worst way, and I do not have one. So this song is, I'm going to link his SoundCloud, but this is the song War by Ian Hink. And just like to thank everybody very much for listening to this week's episode. And we will see you next week for episode 241.
Boosh.
All right. All right, that's going to be it. Thank you to everybody that came by and hung out.
Yeah, thanks, guys.